Well, don't tell me what happened because I didn't read it yet. So that became our visiting room conversation. And at the time, I didn't know what she was doing was changing the way I think. I mean, she was sending me books, Black Panther books, the girl Ayanna Van Zant. You know, she was sending me
Wow.
so many different books to read, and it was changing my way of thinking.
That's I'm just gonna say that's awesome, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna reiterate on that.
And that's probably how I
Um,
start writing. Now that I think about it, that's probably, I mean, I know for sure that's how I start writing, from reading all those books.
we're back with the Deeva Show on SeeMortal.com. We are talking with Larry L. Thompson. He is the author of SeeMortal, TheDon.
I welcome death at the door. Door
Now,
for something to live, something must die.
when we were on break, Larry was talking, and he was talking about how, and I'm going to start from the nitty gritty of it, and this is one of the this feeds into the question that I was asking before we went to the break. If you had a room full of young men, what would you tell them right now? Um, One of the things that he mentioned while we were communicating and we were on break is the fact that after a while, females that he knew stopped coming.
Everybody stopped.
People in the game, stopped coming. The
Wasn't
homies
nobody
stopped
looking
coming.
out. Wasn't nobody doing anything.
And
Nobody did anything.
one of the things that a lot of young men of today talk about is my homie this, my homie that. But in actuality, that goes away.
Yeah, they leave. I mean, when you go to prison, pretty much you're there by yourself. If you have somebody in your family that you're close with, if they stay, that's a blessing. But for me, the only person I had was my mother. And then when I say the only person I had, that's not to say other people didn't write me, but I'm talking about people that ran the street with me, women that I slept with, women that ran around with me. They lived their life. It was over. I mean, when I was in prison, I didn't see some of them for 5 years at a time. You know, my mother was the only one there. But the best thing about just having my mother there was I had to grow up. I had to take responsibility. I had to basically man up and say that girl ain't coming up here no more. Opposed to me just keep asking how she's doing, getting on the phone and sending all these letters. That wasn't happening.
I'm just going to say, and how a lot of times the conversation goes, "Hey, can you call so and so on the three-way?"
That was my conversation. That
You
was
know what I mean?
that was
Can you
my
call so-and-so on
yeah,
the
that was my
three-way?
conversation. That was definitely my conversation. I used to be like, "Can you three-way call?" I remember one time asking my sister to three-way call. My sister is no longer here. Her name was Beverly. She's no longer here, but Beverly was like my second mother. And I asked her to three-way call. Long story short, she three-ways the call for me, right? When she three-way the call, I'm talking to the young lady on the phone. So I'm like, yeah, can you come up here to visit me? You know what I mean? I need to see you. I miss you, so forth and so on. And my sister was supposed to put the phone down. So I don't know if she put the phone down or she held on to the phone. The girl is like, I don't know if I can come. And she taking me through all these different changes. So my sister busts in and was like, yo, what the hell you doing begging this bitch about coming to see you?
Oh, wow.
Right? So I'm like, oh, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You don't do that. So I'm on the phone arguing with my sister about disrespecting the chick that I'm begging to come see me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, my sister like, when you start doing that, you ain't never begged nobody to do nothing in your life. And you ain't going to start. So she hangs up on the girl. Me and her have a few words, you know what I mean?
Wow.
She bangs on me. Look, you ain't got to call him no more, right?
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, once I thought about what she was saying,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't me. You know what I mean? Now I'm being somebody that I wasn't supposed to be anyway. So I mean, I got a few hard lessons, and I had to learn fast. And I made it my business, right? And I made it my business to say I will never in my life again beg somebody to come and visit me. Like that was one of the turning points. You know, understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I just had to realize, look, if people gonna be in your life, they're gonna be in your life. When I was running around doing the stuff that I was doing, I made my bed. I had to lay in it. You know, and again, with the books that my mother was sending me to read,
I was just
you know what I mean? Yeah, with the books that my mother was sending me to read, it was taking up a lot of my time. And again, what she was doing was changing my way of thinking. And that was the start of me being able not to just be in prison, I could actually see outside of the prison. You know, because I would dive into a book and no matter what was going on, I still started thinking about, okay, you have to concentrate on getting out, not being here thinking you're going to be here for the rest of your life.
Right.
you know. So that became my mindset, and for 13 years plus, my mother sent me books to read, and through some of the books that I would read, I would laugh about, and I would sit down and write some poetry. You know, I would write like little short stories, and over time, I just start, you know, picking up a pattern where I was able to. I would read the things that they wrote and pretty much say I could do the same thing, but at the time I wasn't saying it. I went to the hole, and while in the hole, I just started writing about my life, and in writing about my life, this is what came out. I actually, the title. This actually wasn't the title of the book. I wrote a poem called "A Small Candlelight Between the Darkness." Was a poem that I wrote. So I sent the poem out, and the poem was a part of the book. You know,
Okay.
at the time, this was just papers. I sent it out. My mom read it. My sisters read it. I had a guy that was next door to me. He was in the hole. He was next door to me in the cell, and I would slide him over stuff to read, and he read it, and he sent it back. And when he sent back what he read, he drew a picture, and I actually had a picture on my chest. I actually put it on my chest, and the title of the poem was called "A Small Candlelight Between the Darkness," and this was the actual picture that he drew, but it was in color. My mom actually took that
Wow.
and put it on her book cover. It's called Small Candlelight Between the Darkness," and that was the name of the poem. But that's another book. That's another story.
I was getting ready to say,
Right.
wow, that's
Yeah, that's
good.
another book, and that's another story. But yeah, my mom used to send me so many books to read, man. And
I know you mentioned one of them was Ayana Von.
Yana Van Zandt. Yeah.
Listen, I'm just gonna say this. Sometimes I watch her show,
Right.
and I'm just gonna say, not everybody's life is perfect, and I've thought about going on there for
Hmm.
a major situation,
Right.
but sometimes you gotta ask yourself, are you ready to look in the mirror?
Hmm.
You know, if you're not ready to look in the mirror, and if you're not ready to make certain moves and certain corrections,
Right.
but sometimes, just as what's happened with you, you have life situations that
Right.
force you to make a
Mhm.
change and force you to make some differences. But Ayala Vanzant was one of the books that she sent you, and you also spoke about some of the Black Panther books
Yes.
as well. But I'm going to bring you back to a question that I asked before we went to break.
Go ahead.
So if you had a room full of young men that
Hmm.
you wanted to speak to in reference to, um, I guess, summarizing some things that you've been to give them inspiration and to hope and knowledge and understanding that there's a better life out there. Because honestly, some young men, they don't realize that there's something else out there because that's all they know.
Hmm.
Just like, in Witness and the young man in the stage production of Witness, it's like he was kind of like born into the situation. Not everybody
Right.
is born into the situation, but with some people, that's all they know. They only know their neighborhood. They don't go out of the neighborhood. So if you had a room with some young men and giving them inspiration, what do you think would be the most powerful thing that you could say to them to possibly help them to make a change? And if you were them then,
Hmm. Would I listen?
right?
I don't know. I may have listened. It probably would depends on the person that's talking. Um, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But yes, I do sit and talk to the youth from time to time. I have, and I tell them the truth. I tell them about basically the only thing gonna happen if you're out there hustling, you're going to jail, you're gonna die. You know, it's a poem that I actually wrote that's in the book. Did you read this? You recall reading this?
Hmm.
Yeah, in the book on page 190. On 190, I say.
Y'all got to get the book so y'all
Yeah,
can read it.
this is just an excerpt of it. I was knee deep in shit, and yet I still couldn't smell it. I felt alone, as if nothing really mattered. I thought back on a poem I once read in the book. Those words vibrated in my head. The illusions of time. Time ain't real. Can you hold it, touch it, smell it, feel it, caress it, make love to it? Losing time, holding time, waiting for the right time. Motherfuckers is always stuck in time, doing time.